Have you ever felt like you don't belong? Like the walls of the church can no longer contain the weight of your spirit? What if I told you that it's not rejection, but a divine redirection? You've been searching for answers, praying for clarity, and wondering why the place you once found comfort now feels so unfamiliar. But here's the truth. God has chosen you for something greater. He's calling you beyond tradition, beyond routine, and into a new purpose. The feeling of disconnection isn't a mistake. It's a sign. You're not leaving your faith. You're stepping into it more fully than ever before. This is your season of transformation, a season where God Himself is guiding you toward a deeper, more powerful connection. So why does it feel like the church is no longer your home? And what does this calling mean for your life moving forward? Stay with me, because what's coming next will change the way you see your journey, your faith, and your divine purpose. Chosen one, this is your time. God has decided churches are not your destination anymore, but where He's taking you. It's beyond anything you've ever imagined. You are meant for a higher purpose. As a chosen one, your life is far from ordinary. You aren't just passing through the motions of daily life. There is a divine plan unfolding specifically for you, one that goes beyond what you've known. You were born for something bigger, something more profound, and it's time for you to step into that purpose. You may have grown up attending church, following the familiar rituals and practices, but somewhere along the way, you felt a shift, a desire for something more. It's like the walls of the church no longer feel like home, and that's okay. God's vision for your life isn't confined to a building. Your calling is far greater than sitting in pews and following the traditions that may have once felt comfortable, but now feel limiting. Your higher purpose could be calling you to step outside the church walls and into the world, to lead people toward faith in ways that speak to their hearts, not just to their habits. You may be called to show the world what real faith looks like, to become the living example of God's love and grace. This might not happen through traditional sermons, but through your actions, your words, and the way you live your life every day. In today's world, many are searching for meaning, but church attendance is on the decline. The pews are emptying because people want something more authentic, more real. They want to see faith lived out in action, and that's where you come in. God is calling you to be the beacon of light in a world that desperately needs it. Your life, your journey, your struggles, and your victories are a testimony of His power and love. You are the example of what it means to live a life of purpose, and people are going to be drawn to that. Think about it. How many people in your community, at your workplace, or even in your circle of friends feel disconnected from God or misunderstood by traditional church structures? They may have been hurt, confused, or simply don't see the relevance of what's being preached. But you're different. You're called to reach them, to bring them in, and to show them what true faith looks like in action. God's plan for you isn't about fitting into a mold. It's about using the unique gifts, experiences, and insights you've gained to make an impact where it counts. Whether it's in your personal relationships, on social media, or through a ministry that doesn't look like anything you've seen before, your purpose is to make God's love known in ways that speak directly to the heart. God is asking you to embrace your calling. It's not just about following traditions or sticking to what's comfortable. It's about living out the purpose He has created for you. You are ready for something extraordinary, and He is preparing you for a mission that will not only change your life, but will also transform the lives of those around you. Don't be afraid to step away from what you know. The calling you feel is not a rejection of your faith. It's an elevation of it. God is expanding your horizons and calling you to rise above the confines of tradition, to fulfill a purpose that only you can accomplish. Embrace that calling, trust in God's plan, and step boldly into the higher purpose that is waiting for you. In a world that's searching for truth, authenticity, and hope, God has chosen you to be the one to show the way. You are meant for this. The higher purpose He has for you is far greater than you ever thought possible. Embrace it, live it, and let your light shine in places where it's needed most. Your time is now. Your connection with God has evolved. Your relationship with God isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. It's not a static, unchanging bond, but one that is alive, evolving, and growing as you do. If you've started to feel that your connection to God is different lately, more personal, more intimate, and less tied to rituals or traditions, rest assured, That's exactly how it's meant to be. This shift is a natural part of your spiritual journey, one that reflects the deeper, more authentic relationship God is calling you into. When we first begin our spiritual walks, the church often serves as the primary place to seek answers, find community, and grow in faith. The structured environment, the familiar practices, and the shared teachings are all part of that early foundation. But as we grow and evolve spiritually, we start to realize that God isn't confined to a building. His presence isn't limited to a Sunday service or a particular tradition. It's everywhere. God is present in the stillness of your home, in the beauty of nature, and in the moments of quiet reflection and prayer. It's in these spaces, away from the hustle and bustle of religious routines, where you begin to experience a more direct, personal connection with Him. What's happening now is a beautiful transformation in your spiritual life. You are moving beyond the rituals and systems that once served as the foundation of your faith and stepping into a deeper, more intimate relationship with God. You are learning to bypass the need for intermediaries, whether that's a priest, pastor, or religious ritual, and instead, seeking God directly in the moments that matter most to you. This doesn't mean you've abandoned tradition. It means you're evolving into a more authentic personal experience with your Creator. This shift in your connection with God is a sign of spiritual maturity. As you move through life, your understanding of who God is and who you are in Him deepens. You no longer need external validation or prescribed rituals to feel close to Him, because you have come to understand that His presence is with you all the time. Whether you're in a quiet moment of prayer, having a conversation with a friend, or walking through nature, God is there. You are learning to see Him in every moment, and that's where true spiritual transformation begins. The beauty of this evolving relationship is that it's ever growing. You are not stuck in one place. You are moving toward a deeper, more authentic connection with God each day. It's a journey that invites you to explore the many ways God speaks to you, not just through a sermon or scripture, but through the world around you, the people you meet, and the quiet whisper of your heart. Don't be afraid of this shift. It may feel unfamiliar at first, but it is the natural progression of your spiritual growth. This is the phase where your relationship with God becomes more real, more alive, and more genuine than ever before. It's no longer about following rules or rituals for the sake of tradition. It's about knowing God in the deepest parts of your being and trusting Him to guide you in ways that are uniquely personal to you. So, embrace this new phase of your spiritual journey. Trust that God is leading you into a deeper connection with Him, one that's not bound by the walls of a church but is free to flourish in every moment of your life. You are evolving, and so is your relationship with God. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing. Churches may feel limiting to your spirit. Have you ever sat in church and felt like something was missing? Maybe you couldn't connect with the sermon, the music, or the rituals, even though you've been a faithful attendee for years. This feeling can be disorienting, especially if church has always been a central part of your life. But it's important to recognize that sometimes God calls us away from familiar places because our spiritual needs have evolved, and we've outgrown them. The truth is, not all churches are the right fit for everyone. Church structures, traditions, and even the people within them can sometimes unintentionally limit your spiritual growth. The environment that once nurtured you might now feel restrictive, stifling your potential and preventing you from fully experiencing the depth of God's presence. What once felt like a safe space may no longer feel like a place where your spirit can truly thrive. If you're feeling this disconnect, it's okay. It doesn't mean you've lost your faith or abandoned God. It simply means you're entering a new phase of your spiritual journey, one where you are being called to seek a more authentic connection with God. This deeper connection may not happen inside a church building. In fact, some of the most powerful spiritual moments occur in the quiet stillness of your own heart, in nature, or through unconventional practices that resonate with your soul. God's presence isn't confined to the four walls of a church. He is with you wherever you go, in every moment of your life. Your relationship with Him doesn't have to follow the structures or systems set by others. Instead, it can flourish in places and practices that feel more authentic and free. Sometimes the greatest spiritual growth happens outside of tradition, where you can truly be yourself and experience God in a deeper, more personal way. It's important to honor where you are in your spiritual journey. If church feels limiting to your spirit, it's okay to step back and explore new avenues for connection. Trust that God will meet you where you are, even if it's not in a place you've always known. Embrace the freedom to find God in new ways, and know that this doesn't make you any less faithful. It means you're growing, evolving, and seeking a deeper, more real relationship with Him. God's presence is not confined to one place, one tradition, or one way of worship. You are being called to break free from what feels limiting and step into a broader, more expansive connection with Him. The path may look different from what you've known, but it will be far more fulfilling. Your spirit needs freedom, and sometimes that freedom is found outside the familiar confines of tradition. Following the path set before you is one thing, but being called to blaze your own trail is something entirely different. As a chosen one, you are not just meant to follow others, you are meant to lead. And leadership doesn't always look the way you might expect. It's not necessarily about standing at a pulpit or delivering a sermon in front of a crowd. In fact, your life itself can become your sermon. The way you live, the choices you make, and how you treat others can have an even greater impact than any spoken word. God is calling you to lead by example. You've walked through struggles, experienced triumphs, and learned valuable lessons along the way. Those experiences have shaped you into the person you are today. And now it's time to share that wisdom with the world. Your story is unique, and by living authentically, you can show others what it means to have faith, to persevere, and to live with purpose. This type of leadership doesn't always fit into the traditional mold. You may not be leading a church service or preaching on a stage, and that's perfectly okay. Leadership comes in many forms. Maybe you're the one organizing community events, bringing people together to support each other. Or perhaps you're helping someone find hope in the midst of their struggles, offering them guidance and encouragement when they need it most. Your influence might be in how you live out your values in everyday situations, or in the quiet moments when you offer wisdom to those who are lost or unsure. The world is in desperate need of leaders who live their faith boldly and unapologetically. People are looking for examples of what it looks like to truly live with purpose and integrity, to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. Your leadership will inspire change, not just through what you say, but through how you show up for others. By living with compassion and conviction, you'll help others find their way, just as you've found yours. God is asking you to step into this calling. Don't be afraid to take the lead, even if it looks different from what you've seen before. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs more leaders who aren't afraid to stand up, speak out, and make a difference. You've been prepared for this moment, and it's time to embrace it. Whether you're guiding a small group of people, leading a cause, or simply being the example of faith in your daily life, your leadership is crucial. You are one of the leaders the world needs, bold, compassionate, and ready to make a difference. Embrace your calling to lead and trust that God is with you every step of the way. Churches may no longer reflect God's original vision. It can be a tough realization, but the truth is not every church today fully reflects God's original vision. Over time, many churches have become more focused on institutional structures, power dynamics, and personal agendas than on serving others or glorifying God. If you've started to feel a sense of disconnect during services, it might be because your spirit is recognizing a gap between what's happening in the church and what you know to be true about God's love and purpose. Church was always meant to be a place of authenticity, a space where believers could gather, worship, and feel a deep spiritual connection with God. Yet many churches today have shifted away from that foundation. The rituals, the programs, the hierarchy, they may no longer align with the truth and depth of God's love that you've come to know in your heart. If you're sensing this disconnect, it's important to trust that this feeling isn't a sign of lost faith. It's actually an invitation to grow spiritually, to step into a deeper understanding of God's plan. God's love is vast and boundless, far beyond the limitations of any institution. Your growing discernment is a sign that God is opening your eyes to see beyond the surface. It's not about rejecting God, but about moving closer to the authentic, personal connection with Him that transcends the limits of any building or tradition. This might mean seeking God in ways that feel more real, more intimate, and more aligned with the truth He is revealing to you. If you're no longer feeling a deep connection in church, it doesn't mean you've lost your way. In fact, it could be a powerful indicator that you're maturing in your faith. You're starting to understand that God's presence isn't confined to a building or a set of rituals. He is everywhere, and your relationship with Him is much more expansive than any institutional setting can offer. God is guiding you toward a more genuine, personal experience of faith, one that doesn't rely on human-made structures or programs. Trust in your spiritual discernment and know that God is calling you to something deeper. Your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Keep seeking Him and trust that He is leading you to a place of true connection, authenticity, and spiritual fulfillment. You are learning to trust God alone. At the start of many spiritual journeys, we rely heavily on others, church leaders, mentors, family, and friends, who guide us, offer wisdom, and provide support. But as we grow in our faith, there comes a pivotal moment when God calls us to trust Him alone. This shift can be both intimidating and liberating, as it takes us out of our comfort zones and places our full reliance on His guidance. If you're feeling called to step away from the church or a familiar support system, it's not a sign that you're abandoning God. In fact, it's quite the opposite. God is asking you to trust Him in a deeper, more intimate way, without needing external validation or assistance. This doesn't mean you're alone. Rather, it means you're learning to hear and follow His voice in a way that transcends what others have taught you. In the quiet moments when you're by yourself, God's whispers and nudges will become clearer, more personal, and more profound than any sermon or teaching could ever offer. Trusting God alone is a powerful way to strengthen your faith. It's about moving from a reliance on human support to a trust grounded in God's love and direction. You are building a foundation that isn't shaky, reliant on the opinions or approval of others, but instead rooted in the unwavering assurance of God's guidance. This is the kind of trust that will hold firm no matter what challenges or doubts come your way. It's not dependent on a building, a person, or a tradition, but solely on the relationship you have with God. This season of solitude and reliance on God is a necessary part of your spiritual growth. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's preparing you for something greater. As you learn to lean fully on God, your trust will become unshakable. You will develop a deeper understanding of His will for your life, and that understanding will give you the strength to face whatever lies ahead. Embrace this journey. Know that God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, teaching you, and building your faith to new heights. The path may be solitary at times, but it is in these moments that you will find your strength and your peace, found not in the validation of others, but in the deep personal relationship you share with God. A new spiritual path awaits you. If you're feeling called to step away from the church, know this: you are not stepping away from God. In fact, you are being invited to explore new, vibrant, and unconventional ways to experience and share His love. While the exact shape of this new path may not be clear right now, trust that God is guiding you towards something fresh, something uniquely tailored to your spiritual journey. This new path could lead you to places you never expected, helping others, finding a community that resonates with your soul, or even creating new forms of worship that reflect the personal relationship you share with God. You are equipped for this moment. Your experiences, your gifts, and your heart have all been prepared by God to step into this new chapter. It's your time to shine in ways you've never imagined, to connect with people where they are, and to share the love and truth of God through your life and actions. Embrace this journey with an open heart. Though the future may seem uncertain, it's also filled with infinite possibilities. You are being called to walk in faith, to discover new dimensions of yourself and your relationship with God. Trust the process, knowing that God is with you every step of the way, opening doors to experiences and opportunities that will deepen your faith and enrich your life. The best is yet to come. So, now you know. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of something extraordinary. God is leading you down a new path, one filled with purpose, growth, and connection that goes far beyond the walls of any church. He's calling you to trust Him, to step into your destiny, and to embrace the unknown with faith. This shift isn't about leaving, it's about evolving. You are not walking this path alone. Every step you take is guided by God's hand, and every challenge you face is preparing you for something greater. You've been chosen for a higher purpose, one that will bring light and hope to others in ways you can't yet imagine. Remember, the church was never meant to contain you. You were always meant to shine in the world, to go where others won't, and to carry God's love to places that need it most. As you move forward, trust that you are exactly where you're meant to be. God's plan for you is unfolding, and it's bigger than you can comprehend. Embrace this calling, because you were made for this moment. Chosen one, your journey has only just begun. Keep your faith strong and never forget, you are part of something far greater than you can see. Now go and shine your light